Okay, so now we are on vitamins, and I broke this one chapter up into two parts because some vitamins are water soluble, meaning that they break up in water, they're stored in water soluble parts of your body, and your body is mostly water soluble. But then there's other vitamins that are lipid soluble, and they hang out in your fat stores. They're soluble in lipids. So that's one issue with losing a lot of adipose. You have to watch out for those vitamins. So your book does it in reverse. They do the lipid soluble first, and then the water soluble. So I'm reversing it here. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start with the water soluble vitamins. Well, let me say a couple things about all vitamins. Vitamins do not give energy. They help your body do things. They help your body use energy, for example, and that's what a lot of the B vitamins do. But they do not in themselves give you energy. There's only three things that give you energy, and you should know what those are by now. It's those three macromolecules. But vitamins are micronutrients, I should say. So carbs, lipids, proteins are macronutrients. Vitamins, minerals, and water are micronutrients. Now we're talking about micronutrients. First one is vitamins. So vitamins do not give you energy. They are typically measured in micrograms or milligrams. They are not measured in grams. So there's a few that are going to be micrograms. Like one important one we'll talk about with this water soluble lecture is folic acid. That's measured in micrograms, to give you an example. It's important not just that something contains vitamins, but what's the quality of those vitamins? Are they bioavailable? Meaning, are they easily digested and usable? And it depends. Like what's the source of it? Is it naturally occurring, or is it synthetic or fortified? And some vitamins you would think, well, we do much better with them when they're naturally occurring. Some vitamins are better off when they're synthetic. So it just depends, and how well do you digest those vitamins? Because that definitely means something. A lot of multivitamins, to give you an example, don't properly get digested in your body. Some people like to crush them up. So let's start with the first water soluble vitamin. There's B complex. There's about 8. I don't want to count it right now. 7 or 8 or 9, something like that. B vitamins. So it's a group of vitamins. So there's B complex and there's C. Those are the water soluble vitamins. Oh, and before I jump into it, no, I'm not putting it here. But something I'd like to tell you about water soluble vitamins versus lipid soluble vitamins. Water soluble vitamins you tend to need daily, or at least every couple of days. Lipid soluble vitamins, that's not the case. They can persist for a lot longer in your body. You do not need them every day. But water soluble vitamins, you do need more often, but also you excrete them more often, right? So a lot of these are getting excreted in the urine. So let's start with the first one, thiamine. A lot of these B vitamins are coenzymes. So to really, really understand what these B vitamins do, you would need a really good understanding of cellular respiration, which we're not going into. If you take a biology class, you'll have that. But even then, we don't go into it a lot. So it suffices to say that it acts as a coenzyme when you metabolize sugars, glucose, right? And then there's some nervous systems that depend on thiamine. So actually, when you look at beriberi is the deficiency of thiamine. And when would you see that in the United States? Hardly ever, except in alcoholics, because alcohol antagonizes many vitamins. So not just thiamine. Alcohol works against other vitamins as well. So in severe cases of beriberi, you can like grab onto it works better on the leg, right? But you grab onto the arm, and if you let it go, there'll be like indentions where your fingers were, and it'll stay for a few seconds. Right? Don't go grabbing patients, but I'm just saying if you did, that's what could happen in extreme events, right? So where do you get thiamine? Whole grains, pork's an excellent source. I'm not into pork though. And then milk products. All right, riboflavin, that's the next one. Similar function, but for protein metabolism. So it doesn't give you energy, but it helps you use proteins. So whenever you're giving a patient, when a patient is going through some kind of injury or needs to heal, they need more proteins. And if they need more proteins, you have to keep riboflavin in your mind as well, right? So anytime someone's repairing tissue, proteins, right? Most things, people in the hospital, you have to be concerned about protein intake if it's like a long-term stay, right? And then if you are, then also be concerned about riboflavin. Where do you find it? Again, whole grains and milk products, just like thiamine. However, riboflavin can be found in liver. So the deficiency, which you're not really going to find in this country, but is called erythroflavinosis, which is the word riboflavin with osis after it and A before. So A means without, riboflavin, there's the word riboflavin, and then osis, like a condition. Right. Third one, niacin, also a coenzyme. It is used in the production of fatty acids and steroids, and also in serotonin. So niacin, there's some studies linking it to, what is it with the heart? I forgot already. Something with the heart, which I should totally know. I feel like it dilates blood vessels. I can't be sure. You'll have to look it up. And there's studies linking it with short-term memory improvements. Niacin is one of the things that they put in energy drinks. So they kind of load it in there because if you take a lot, it gives your ears kind of like that buzz, and it gives you kind of that impression that you're focusing, that you're like, it's kind of like mimics ADHD medication, something like that. So you got to be careful because too much of that stuff is going to cause niacin flush, right? So that does happen, but usually you're going to get caffeine poisoning before that because those energy drinks are like loaded with caffeine. Pellagra is the deficiency, not found too often, but we call it like the 4Ds, right? Dermatitis, diarrhea, dementia, death. Are those like the stages of it? So where do you find niacin? In any proteins. You eat proteins, you eat meat, you've got niacin. Biotin, it's available everywhere. There's never deficiencies. Your bacteria that live in your intestine can actually make it. So there's a couple vitamins that's true for. Biotin's one of them. Does it help with your hair? Probably not. Sorry. So that's it. Really nothing about vitamin. And the next one is the same thing. Not really much about pantothenic acid. Cats, man, they just... Okay. Widespread pantothenic acid deficiencies are rare. And so when we talk about these things being widespread, they're not things that you really need to go out and purchase. I mean, sometimes people purchase these things thinking that they're going to do something. There are a couple of vitamins, B vitamins, that you should purchase under certain conditions, right? But most of these, if you just eat normally, you'll get them, right? So pantothenic acid is another one I'm just quickly passing up. Let me tell them that I'm staying in. All right, B6. helps the body make non-essential amino acids. So if you remember, there's 20 amino acids. 9 of them are essential, meaning that you cannot make them. 20 of them, 11 of them are non-essential, meaning that you can make them. So B6 helps with that. And then it helps convert tryptophan to niacin or serotonin. Tryptophan is one of the 4 limiting amino acids. Right? So, needless to say, important to get. It's common in our diet. Again, we're back to proteins: meat, liver, beans, soybeans, which is very plentiful in our diet. Maybe you don't eat soybeans exactly, but you'll get you consume soybean oil, you consume soybean products, just you don't see it as soybeans. It's another vitamin that alcohol antagonizes. So now we're on our second vitamin here that alcohol works against, right? Just another reason to limit alcohol consumption, or ideally just get rid of it altogether. Folic acid, the most important one of all of these. Folic acid and B12. Folic acid or folate, important not necessarily for everyone, important for women of childbearing age. You do not want to be pregnant and not know you're pregnant and not get enough folic acid. Folic acid is used for DNA synthesis. So if you don't make DNA, you cannot make new cells. If you cannot make new cells, you're not making the baby. Well, it's not that you're not making the baby, but there's parts of the baby that you're not making around the brain here. So these are 2 deficiencies of folic acid: spina bifida and anencephaly. So yeah, I mean, very, very important just to take it. It's recommended that any woman within pregnancy age, that vast range, should just take it, right? It's not hurting anybody. So the RDA, here's one that's measured in micrograms. You notice that this is the only one that I have an RDA for. So it's important. So the RDA is 400 micrograms under normal circumstances, 600 during pregnancy, and some people would say even a bit more, 700 or 800. Those pink prenatal vitamins give you 1 milligram, which is 1,000 micrograms, right? So good. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, there is a debate around multivitamins. Should you take it? The literature split, right? But one of the cases where everyone can agree on is during pregnancy. So aspirin and antacids interfere with folic acid, which explains why the doctor tells you not to take these things when you actually need them, because gastric reflux is a common problem in pregnancy. But then the doctor says drink more water, right? You're like, thanks, that doesn't help at all. But you got to stick it out, because that's why. So sources: green leafy vegetables, legumes, beans, peas. So folic acid and B12 use each other. Like B12 takes the takes part of the molecule away from the folic acid, and then they activate each other. Again, B12 is similar to folic acid. It makes DNA and RNA, so it has a very similar function to folic acid. It's more available in your diet and therefore less of a concern. That's why B12 is not pushed because you're getting it. Folic acid, it's possible to not get it, especially if you're not eating a good diet. So deficiencies are not related to intake problems, because there's enough B12 in our food. They're related to like gastroenteritis, like stomach problems, because your stomach makes something called intrinsic factor, and B12 has to be coupled with it. It has to be bound to it. Otherwise, you don't absorb it. So it's an absorption issue. It's not a supply issue. And so usually older people have problems with their stomachs. They're eventually going to have they could have problems with B12 as well. So that is all the B vitamins. Vitamin C, this is the other water soluble. So we say B complex, that was all the B complex, and then vitamin C. Vitamin C, ascorbic acid. Ascorbic comes from this word scurvy. So, like, people were getting scurvy, and then they called it anti-scorbutic, and then ascorbic. So, it's an antioxidant. So, free radicals are these molecules that, I got right here, free radicals, and they defend against free radicals. Free radicals are essentially oxygens without electrons. And they get, when they're like that, they go around your body destroying your DNA and your cell membranes, and they wreak a lot of havoc in your body. Antioxidants, vitamin C being one of them, donate electrons to these free radicals. So kind of cancels them out. It's also used in collagen formation. Collagen is one of the fibers. There's 3 different fibers in your body. One's like elastic fibers. One of them is collagen. And collagen gives strength to things. When you pull on your ear and you let it go, it goes back to its position because of elastic fibers, right? Why is it so strong? Like, why is it bendable, but it's very strong? Think about like the gauges that people put into their ears. The answer is because of collagen fibers, right? So vitamin C is used in collagen formation. So very important vitamin. However, we get a lot of vitamin C, and the food companies put it in everything because it's a very cheap, thanks to corn, it's a very cheap preservative, right? And then you can advertise that it has lots of vitamin C, right? But fruit and vegetables as well, or orange juice. Your book talks about a very interesting point here, saying very small, like that much orange juice completely meets your daily need of vitamin C. So no need to drink a whole glass or 2 glasses, right? So there's this idea that we do things for health benefits, but we don't need to consume like the extra calories and get the extra sugar when we don't need it. Anyway, thought it was an interesting. All right, so that's the B vitamins. That's the water soluble vitamins. The lipid vitamins are actually a little bit shorter, and there's only 4 of those. So let me you know what? Let me do a couple things here. I'm afraid to just jump into that one. I'm going to stop presenting, and then I'm going to re-present. Here we go, lipid-soluble vitamins. I hope that works. So, lipid-soluble vitamins, they need bile for absorption. Bile is something made by your liver. If you remember, it helps to break fat down smaller until the enzyme lipase can go in and break it down. Right, so that's in the chapter on lipids. They use the lymphatic system. That's a system that, like you have blood vessels like arteries and veins. You also have a lymphatic vessel that comes like from here. It goes from your like extremities and it comes to right here, your subclavian veins. So it does a couple of things. One of the things that it does is transport lipids, and therefore lipid soluble vitamins. Right? We can store. We do not need this as often. We can store it a long time, and so therefore there is a possibility of higher or a greater possibility of toxicity. And vitamin A is a very good example of something that can get toxic levels because we can store a year's worth of vitamin A, no problem. You probably have a year's worth in your body, right? So think about people that are like juicing carrots every day. Carrots have like an insane amount of vitamin A in it. It goes back to this idea, don't go crazy with things in nutrition. You like spinach, fine, once a week. Don't go crazy because it's going to mess up absorption of other things in your body. Or you like carrots, great. Don't, once or twice maximum. That's a lot. It's a lot of vitamin A. So it comes in 2 forms. preformed vitamin A, which we call retinol with an O, and then provitamin A, which is like a precursor. And so that's found in beta carotene or carotenoids. So any fruit or vegetable that's like really bright or really dark green. You're like, what does that mean? Dark green, not like iceberg lettuce. Dark green, like kale or spinach, things like that, a dark green color. And then light colors like squash and anything that's like yellow and orange, that's carotenoids. That's what's making those colors, yellow, orange, red. Those are made by the pigment called carotenoid. And so that's where you find it's good sources of vitamin A. Right? And so they aid in vision, as we know. And then they cause this thing called cell differentiation, like why does a cell become like your skin cell versus the cell inside of your cheek versus your eyeball cell? That's cell differentiation. But it's really rare to have a deficiency of it in this country, but you do find it in other countries, and it causes stages of blindness. All right. So keratomalacia is like irreversible blindness. Xerosis is like a stage that can be reversed. And then again, too much teratogenic risk. It can cause birth defects. It can weaken bones because vitamin A also it's also involved in this thing called bone remodeling, where like when you go to grow bone, you break down some of your bone. It's like you take a step back and then you take 2 steps forward. So your body will break down a little bit bone and then grow like more. And so vitamin A helps with that. So the toxicity is weakened bones and then potentially birth defects. So don't go crazy with the vitamin A. Vitamin D. This is a vitamin that our skin can manufacture, provided that you have enough sunlight and provided you have light colored skin. Sorry if your skin's dark colored. But don't worry, when you're 80, you're going to look 20. And you can always take vitamin D. It's no pill to look younger. So good trade-off. All right, so vitamin D is related to calcium. The more vitamin D you have, the more calcium you get. So it tells your kidneys to keep calcium, don't pee it out. That's reabsorption. It tells you to absorb more calcium out of our food. And then most importantly, a big source of calcium in our body is in your bones. So if you have low levels of calcium in your blood, your bones, there's bone cells called osteoclasts, and they go in and they cut up your bone and pull the calcium out. Right? So not enough vitamin D equals not enough calcium. Not enough calcium in your blood equals go into your bones and mine it out, pull it out of your bones. And you're going to get a bunch of holes in your bones, and you're going to get in the case of children, rickets, or in the case of adults, osteomalacia. And then you might be thinking to yourself, well, what about osteoporosis? That's more related to estrogen levels. So that is something for women that have gone through, that are in menopause, right? That's the risk group there, right? So too much vitamin D. Why would somebody get too much vitamin D? Because they're drinking milk like crazy. Again, drinking too much of something, eating too much of something. Some adults just love milk and they drink like 3 glasses, 4 glasses a day. They got to knock it off. That stuff's going to cause kidney stones, and it's going to it could harden your blood vessels. All right. So how much do you get? How much vitamin D do you need? Depends on how much sunlight we get, how much we get from our diet. Milk's not the only place you can get it in the diet. Well, I was going to say how to make that go away. Vitamin E, another antioxidant. Just like vitamin C. Vitamin C is water soluble, vitamin E, lipid soluble. Same thing, it's an antioxidant, right? So a deficiency, rare, but It's called erythrocytic hemolysis, meaning your red blood cells break. Erythrocyte is a red blood cell. Hemolysis, hema meaning blood, lysis meaning break. So sometimes, not always, vitamin K is what's always given to newborns. Vitamin E sometimes is given to prevent a type of anemia from like blood cells breaking. And too much vitamin A can interfere with vitamin K. Just like all the lipid soluble vitamins, they pretty much have the same source. Green leafy vegetables are a source for all of these vitamins, so you can't go wrong with that as a source. Lastly, vitamin K for blood clotting. So if someone is taking blood thinners, they should not be eating food with too much vitamin K. So no green leafy vegetables for people that really need to be concerned about the thinness of their blood, because vitamin K is for blood clotting. So there's bacteria in our intestine that can make it. It's not enough though. So the bacteria in our intestine combined with our diet, that's enough. Newborns don't make that bacteria. Their bacteria are not making it. They don't have the bacteria actually. So they often will get a shot. Well, almost always they'll get a shot of vitamin K at birth. And there you go. That is our 4 lipid-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, K. Water-soluble, B complex, and C. There's no other vitamins. So there you go. That is the chapter on vitamins.